moving to the basket, a super move, rebound from Spain, and here's Joel Moore.
So to begin with, this video is going to be on the infrastructure of Britain basketball. Yeah. So can you speak on why Britain is where it is at the moment in the basketball world?
First of all, I'm just going to touch on the fact that the GB team had a fantastic result last night. They beat Greece. It doesn't matter how they beat Greece, they beat Greece. Quinton Ellis had a wonderful night, 22 points, 8 assists. I think he had 5 rebounds at the end of the day. That's a good performance, but we've been here before with the British teams beating. I think we beat Germany a couple of seasons, maybe 3 seasons ago, we beat Germany and teams like that. But then we don't carry on from that position. We stay where we're at. And this is partly because systematically, we don't really have the infrastructure in Britain. When we look at all the players that end up in the NBA from Europe, 90% of them don't go through the college system. 90% of the Europeans that are in the NBA came straight from Europe, never played college basketball. You got to remember, even as a British kid, we're fighting the Americans who, if we go to the States, we're fighting them for court time, we're fighting them for scholarships. And let's be honest, most of the kids in America start at 5 or 6 or 7. Most of the British kids start at 12. There's no infrastructure to develop. I think many years ago, this is the major problem. Many years ago in schools, there used to be PE teachers that were very good at basketball. They had life experiences, they were 30, 35 years of age, so they could pass on the information. I was fortunate to have 2 PE teachers that played basketball to a really decent level. One was the GB college captain, and the other one was playing semi-professional, playing professional basketball for Milton Keynes at the time, or Hemel Hempstead Royals, I think they were called at the time. And so I had those two to lean on and learn some of the things. I learned to jump shoot from about the age of 14 or 13 because my school teacher passed that knowledge on. In school back then, I don't think they do it nowadays, we probably had 25, 30 games a season. That's not happening in schools right now, from the age of 12. National Cup games at 15, 14, we're going to Manchester to play teams, we're going to Ipswich to play teams in the National Cup, and that isn't there. Now when you look at the PE staff of many schools in Britain, not just London, the PE teacher's 22, has no life skills, just went to university, understands university, but they've not played semi-professional sport, they've not played any sport at any level. So now you're relying on the clubs, the club scene, where I think we have 45 teams in London alone, where people probably use it more as a vehicle to make money. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it, make money than to actually develop. A lot of the people that run the clubs are not that experienced in basketball. There are people in Britain that can help, but there's not many of them that have played at a high level that can pass on the knowledge to make their students a high level. This is the remit of British basketball. We have an academy which the schools pay for, and then we send our kids at 18 to the States. 95% of the kids that go to the States do not make it in basketball because they're fighting against kids that have been playing for 10 years. And their infrastructure is better now, so their kids develop at a better rate. When you look at the average 15-year-old in the state, they understand flare cut screens, pick and roll, defensive hedging, stuff like that. The average basketball player in Britain doesn't know that at 15 or 14. And it's important that they learn all of that stuff. Again, we're looking at the long game. Every kid that we have, they play in these academies and stuff like that, then they go to the States at 18, 19. I don't understand why we're going that way to the US and we're not going this way to Europe, because that's where we're going to end up playing. We're not going to play in the NBA. Yes, we get 1, we may get 2 that can play in the NBA, but what about the other 90 players that go to the States every year and end up anywhere or nowhere? So systematically something has to change. I distinctively remember after we beat France many years ago, I I can't remember the year, it might have been 1995, we beat France or something like that. And their infrastructure changed. The government took over running sports, and kids were playing sports at a grassroots level from 5. And the courts were basically paid for by the government, and that's how the sport has grown, because every kid has been able to play. Whereas now, the prices that some of the teams have to pay for their court is astronomical. I know teams in London that are paying £80 an hour or £70 an hour. With a discount, they're saying £50 an hour. That's a lot of money for a 2-hour session. You're looking at £100. So therefore, whoever the club is, they have to pass that cost on to the parents or to the player. So each player subsequently is paying £5 or £6 or £8, and that's not including the coach's fee for coaching them or developing them. When you look at our kids, I mean, Quinton Ellis, I love him. He played most of his basketball in Europe. His development time, I don't know, 17. He played most of his basketball in Europe or the Euro Cup, 2 more European teams, one of the 2 teams, I can't remember. You know, he's also in the draft. That's why Quinton Ellis is good, not because of the British League. But when you look at any other country in Europe, you know, we had a couple of French guys that are in the draft. They didn't play their basketball in the States. They played their basketball in France, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, wherever it was they played. They didn't play in the NBA. They didn't play in the college system. So I'm not saying don't go to the States. What I'm saying, if you're the best player in South London, you're not good enough. I don't think you're good enough to go to the States. If you're the best player in half of England, so from Birmingham down, if you're the best player, then you go to the States. But if you're not the best player, I don't see the point in going to the States. And you know, I'll be real with you, I hear college coaches talk to me all the time about this. If you're not 6'10", they're not really interested in you. Because if you're 6'2", they got hundreds, thousands of guards that are that high. So I just think our infrastructure has to be changed. I think that Sport England, the best way they can help the club is not to give them money to pay their coaches. That's not the best way. What they need to do is maybe have court of excellences where they can basically charge or subsidize the court fees so that clubs can exist and kids can play. The streetball culture of Britain is bigger than the court basketball. That's 100%. The streetball culture is way bigger than the club scene and the court scene. So first of all, that has to change. Sport England and these organisations need to get more involved and reduce the price of the court hire, and then maybe make it, I don't know, maybe 20 areas of excellence, 20 regions of excellence, maybe a court you can go there which is open 24 hours for each court, and then somebody administers it, and then maybe there's a resident coach there that will help them. That would be more beneficial to developing, because a lot of coaches see the success when they send their kid to the States, but then the kid comes back 3 or 4 years and he's either not playing basketball or he's not doing anything after 4 years of basketball in the States. You know, I know players that are still in the States but not playing basketball, and they've got a 9 to 5. I know many players that are still living in the States but they're not playing basketball because they don't want to come back to England because of the way our league is structured. Something has to change. Just to look at where we're at, you know, for years, British basketball, we're talking about we have to get better. We do have to get better. I don't remember a time where Britain was ranked 50th in the world. Let's deep that, 50th in the world. But yet our kids leave here thinking they're going to make the NBA. 50th we are. We are ranked 50th in the world. Something has to change. When I look at the types of athletes that we produce, just physically, not talking about their basketball IQ or whatever, you're looking at our pool of players is comparable to the French, 100%. But France is in the top 3 teams in the world, whereas we are in the basement. 50th, and if you include Ireland in that number, well, they're 90th. So we're obviously doing something wrong if we digress into these higher numbers. I think a while back we was 42 or something, but now we're 50th. There are countries in Africa, not the ones that you would think of, that are ranked higher than us. Libya, which I never knew there was a lot of basketball, but there obviously is, are ranked higher than Britain. And you think about that for a minute. Libya is ranked higher than what we are. And so we're obviously doing something wrong at the top end and at the bottom end. Because you can't say one without the other. Our national program is in a mess, our national program, and also our pro leagues are in a mess. The fact that you have 6 Americans on each side is unbelievable for a team, for a country that doesn't have anybody playing in the Euro League. We don't have anybody playing in the Euro League. I would like to see the British stem that back to 3 so that we can develop our players in our leagues. 3 Americans in that league is good. No more than that, and then we develop through the European system and look at the European system. I don't think the British kids realise if they have to come to Europe and play, they are classed as an American, not as a European. So you are fighting an American. If you make Region Isla 1, which most of you won't, or you make Region Isla 2, you are classed as an American, because you're the same as American. Now, if I'm a general manager, if I was a general manager of a club, and I've got a choice between a Brit, who's come straight from Britain, and he's only played ABL basketball or academic basketball, I'm going to take the American, because he would have played community college or Division 3 college or something, and his base knowledge and skills will be better. So that's why it's a very difficult ask for Britain to say that we're exporting any players. We're not exporting any players to Europe. Let's get that one clear. We're not exporting anybody of high value anywhere in Europe. There's 1 or 2, but in general, there's nobody outside of the national team that's probably playing in a Pro A division or a BBO division in Germany somewhere, or Pro A in France or something like that. So these are the things that you're facing when you're talking about the infrastructure. We need to get better at developing basic skills. Basic skills are not being taught in Britain. We teach everybody to dunk and jump, but what about flare screen, Iverson Cup? These things British kids don't know, and it has to change if we're going to get better. Our knowledge individually has to get better, and it's not always about the winning. I think it's about the development. Now, we need to start thinking that we have to win in practice or whatever. Learn the skill, learn what you have to learn, because the coaches over here are not taking our British kids over an American. So we have to get better individually, and our coaches have to get better individually, and stop sending all of our kids to the States when we know that they're going to fail. They're going to fail. I mean, can somebody name me, I'd like to see them put this in the comments anywhere somewhere, 10 players of British origin that are playing in a first league in Europe. Name me 10. I can't name 10. So I'd like somebody to tell me 10 players of ours that are playing European basketball that are playing in the first league, and then we can start from there. Thank you. Enjoy your day.